Morning. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin with chapter 37, verse 26. Chapter 37, verse 26. Yosef has come to see his brothers. The brothers decide, there's a debate if they should just kill him. The brothers decide to throw him in the pit instead. The implication seems to be, and we'll just kind of let him die, not directly by our hands, but indirectly by our hands. And now they see this band of merchants coming by, and in verse 26, Vayomer Yehuda Elechav, Yehuda says to his brothers, Ma betza, literally translated, what profit is there for us? Ki na'aroges achinu, if we kill our brother, v'chisinu es damo, and cover his blood. Why don't we just sell him as a slave? The phrase "ma betza" sort of strikes it just jumps out a little bit. What do you mean? Like what do we have to gain from killing him? Like, I don't know. Is there a financial analyst around? It's just a strange, and like what do we have to gain? It's just a strange kind of language. Also, the language of covering his blood. What's that about? Ramban on Pasuk Chavav. V'chisinu estamo. So Rashi explains that what it means that we would cover his blood is we would hide the fact that we killed him. That's the theoretical possibility. We could hide the fact that we killed him. And that's what the Unklis says as well. The Ramban says, I actually think it should be taken quite literally. Evidently, the standard protocol, and I'm sure there was one, but the Ramban says the standard protocol for people who murder in a secretive way is to kill the person and bury them and make sure to cover the blood, so there shouldn't be a sign. So he's not even speaking metaphorically, says Ramban. He's saying quite literally. Imagine the scene. If we kill him, we have to like cover up his blood. What do we need that all for? Okay. By the way, when Moshe kills the Egyptian, it says in the pasuk, he buried him in the sand. So therefore, Yehuda says, look, our current plan would be to kill him and to cover up his blood. Is that really what we want to do? V'nei Ruvain limeid lohem shlo yishpechu dam biyadam. Now, Ruvain was the argument before Yehuda. There was a whole progression. First, they were going to just actively kill him. And Ruvain says, no, let's not actively kill him. Let's not spill his blood, but with our hands. But let's just throw him into the bore and let him die. Throw him into the pit and let him die there. On the possibility that we're doing something wrong, the gravity of indirectly causing his death is not the same as the gravity of murdering a person. So Yehuda comes and says, okay, look, here's the story. If we put him in the pit and he dies, we as well as killed him. So Ruvain's argument had been just put him in the pit. And of course, we also have this idea that Ruvain was trying to stall. But Yehuda says, but you didn't know that Ruvain was trying to stall, or Yehuda wasn't interested, whatever. Yehuda says, if we put him in the pit, we as well as good as killed him. V'chein hadavar be'emes, and that is indeed the truth. Ramban says, "Ukin shamra kasov vo so harakta b'cherev b'nei Amon v'dina rabba v'dina zuta ikabeinayu u'shneim amru emes." They're both making a good point, says the Ramban. Ruvain's right that it's better to kill him indirectly than kill him directly. Yehuda's right that in the end of the day, if you kill him indirectly, you're still killing him. So he says, let's sell him, but it's just an interesting perspective on the exchange. Sforno, first Sforno on Pasuk Chafav, Ma Betza, Ma Toelas. Yehuda is saying to them, what's the purpose? What's going to be the benefit in killing him? Ki amnam hanakama techavein le'echad mishtayim. When a person takes revenge, and remember, the brothers thought they were doing the right thing. It's very important to understand this is the classic approach. The brothers were wrong, but the brothers thought they were doing the right thing by killing Yosef. There's a classic idea that he was speaking ill about them to his father. They thought he was trying to do them in. There's all kinds of ideas in the Mefarshim. Remember, in all of the previous generations of the Jewish people, there was for lack of better terminology, a chosen son and a non-chosen son. How about that for PC? So I mean, Avram had Yitzchak and Yishmael. Yitzchak had Yaakov and Esav. Now there's all these boys, and they have a concern that Yosef is trying to push them out. So they feel that maybe we just have to be done with him because we think he's trying to do us in. So the Sforno says this idea of vengeance really has one of two purposes. Im l'shalem la'osei hara, it could be to bring appropriate retribution on people who did something bad. V'nei bozeh ki na'aroges achinu nishalem ra'a gam la'atzmeinu ki yichav libenu al misaso v'al achzor yuseinu negdo. So if it's that we want to kill him because we think he deserves it and we want to punish him, well, guess what? If we kill him, we're also going to be punishing ourselves because we'll always have these pangs within us that we killed him. And maybe we did the wrong thing, and maybe we were too cruel. Maybe the real reason is not to punish him. Maybe the real reason is to teach everyone that no one should do this. That's not going to be beneficial, says the Sforno, because we're being secretive about it. So whoever our audience is supposed to be that should be deterred from doing anything against us in the future, they won't know that we did it. So it's a very novel pshat in the pasuk. The Sforno says, what benefit is there if we kill our brother? So the Sforno says, if we kill our brother, they're saying, gosh, the act of killing him, it's going to, on the one hand, it's retribution to him, but on the other hand, what are we doing to ourselves by killing him? And on the other hand, we're talking about being secretive about it, so there's no lessons being imparted to anybody. According to Ramban, the significance of what's the benefit of killing our brother is Yehuda is saying, I don't care if we're doing it indirectly, we're as good as doing it. So we have these different ideas as to what Yehuda is really saying to his brothers. Okay, chapter 38, verse 2. This is a very significant pasuk. Yehuda left his brothers. There's a very famous medrash in the Parsha. Rashi cites it. The bottom line is it was Yehuda's idea to sell Yosef, which we just studied that together. They saw how distressed Yaakov was when they came back. They told him the whole story. It must have been that he was killed. We don't know. They saw how distressed he was. Medrash says that Yehuda went down in the eyes of his brothers after that because they had terrible regret that they did this, and it was kind of Yehuda's fault that they did it. So Yehuda actually went his own way, and ultimately, of course, they were united. But Yehuda goes off for a while. I want to ask you a very basic question: who did the Shvatim marry? Who did each of the sons of Yaakov marry? We hear a lot about Yitzchak's marriage of Rivka. We hear the Torah tells us who Yaakov and Esav married. We hear a lot about who Yaakov married. We don't hear much about who the Shvatim married. There's something about Yosef with the relationship with the wife of Potiphar, but that didn't happen. But who did they marry? We don't know. It's not clear. We saw last week Dinah having that issue with Shechem. So we have a pasuk here, chapter 38, verse 2. Vayarsham Yudah bas ish Knani u'shmo Shua. So when Yehuda went on his own way, he met the daughter of a Canaanite man. His name was Shua, and he married this woman. This is, to the best of my knowledge, the most explicit the Torah is about, we don't even know her name here, by the way, about the marriages of the children of Yaakov. So it sounds from this that they married, at least one of them married a Canaanite woman. Okay, well, this is interesting because Avram makes this big point of telling Eliezer that he doesn't want Yitzchak to marry a Canaanite woman. So have the rules changed or not? What's the story? So really, really interesting Ramban on Pasuk Beis. Bas ish Knani. Amar Unclis Tagara, excuse me. We've discussed this various times. The Unclis really is a literal translation of the parsha, and every now and then he has a nuance on a word. The Unclis translates the word Kanani as merchant. He doesn't translate it as someone from Canaan. Klomar, so the Ramban says this is to say, Yisocher Shabalagur Ba'eretz B'scharaso. The point is that it was a merchant who went to live in the land for the sake of doing merchandise, but he wasn't actually a local. He was from out of town. He came to do merchandise there. Vidato Lomar, the intent of the Unclis is Kibnei Yaakov Yishtamru Milisa Kananios Kasher Tziva Abiyam Yitzchak Gam Avraham. So the bottom line is, says the Ramban, he suggests the reason why the Unclis translates this as a merchant as opposed to a Canaanite man is because it's reasonable to assume that the brothers would have the same diligence about not marrying Canaanite women as Avram instructed Yitzchak, and by the way, as Yitzchak instructed Yaakov. Mitzrios, Ammonios, Moavios, Bnei Yishmael, Bnei Keturah. They had wives from other nationalities. Egyptian, Ammon, Moab, descendants of Yishmael. Ulekach Yichid HaKos Shaul ben Shimon, V'Shaul ben Haknanis, Kihu Levado Bohem. There's a certain, when the Torah goes through the families of the Jewish people, there's one person referred to as Shaul ben Haknanis, Shaul, the son of the Canaanite woman. You know why he's called Shaul, the son of the Canaanite woman? Because that was a novel thing, because nobody else was married to Canaanites. So that's just an interesting thing to think about. There's a dispute among the rabbis about this. Amar Reb Yehuda Omer, Tu'umos nolduim hashvatim v'nasum. Reb Nechemia Omer Kananios hayu. So a famous idea, I'm sure many of you have heard this before. Reb Yehuda says that each of the sons of Yaakov were born with a twin sister, and they married the twins. And Reb Nechemia says, that no, they were Canaanite women. The Ramban says he doesn't think Reb Nechemia necessarily means literally Canaanite, but the point is they were women from the area. The Ramban goes into greater length, but we'll hold here just an interesting thing. So we discussed the response of Yehuda to the idea of leaving Yosef in the pit, with the language of what benefit is there for us. We discussed the issue of the Ramban regarding what does it mean that Yehuda married the daughter of a Canaanite woman.